KCAA Radio, Loma Linda, where no listener is ever left behind.
All right. Out there in the radio land, KCAA. All right. So, welcome to the Cool Veteran Show. My name is Charles Whitehead. I am your host, and I will have my co-host, Martha Varela. She will join us. She'll be joining us here quickly, I should say. Just want to give a shout out to yours truly. Today is my 62nd birthday, and I could find no better way than to sit here and be talking with you guys. Just about all of the good things that are happening in life, and with the Paralyzed Vets. So of course, I'm the president of the Paralyzed Veterans of America, the California chapter, which is we have an office in Long Beach VA Hospital. I am a songwriter, a singer. I teach songwriting to disabled people. I keep a busy schedule, just doing music for Rancho Los Amigos. Again, I'm at the VA, and I'm the president. And I believe we have Martha's coming on the line. Martha, are you there right now?
I'm here.
All right, Martha Varela. She's the executive director at the Paralyzed Veterans of America, the California chapter. And Martha and I are generally here just to, kind of give you guys information about the veterans and the resources and programs that we are doing, things that we're doing with the Paralyzed Vets of America, the PVA office, and our local chapter, which again is California, which is in Long Beach. Martha, I was just telling them today is my 62nd birthday, and
yay, happy birthday, Charles.
Thank you much. And at this point in my life, I can say that I've never felt better. 6 years ago, I was pretty sick. I didn't know if I was going to make it, but here I am today. And I always like to tell people a couple of things that help me. I take liquid IV and I put it in my water every day. I take the vitamin B12s and I put them in my water every day, so it's like the dissolvables. And I eat a yogurt before I go to bed. This way, I get rid of, problems with the bladder and the stomach problems. So again, I feel energetic, and people always ask me, well, where'd you get that energy from? Outside of being a spiritual man and knowing that God is providing it for me, I take those things. So anyway, Martha, how you doing today?
Doing good, Charles. Can't complain for a Saturday. It's a little warmer out than it's been, so I'm happy today for that.
Well, that's good. I just left the funeral. One of my relatives passed, and so I'm here at the radio show, so I'm moving around. I started off in Pomona at the funeral. I'm here in San Bernardino at the radio show, at the radio station, and then I'm going to Seal Beach for dinner with some friends and all, and we're going to do dinner and listen to some music. So it's a good day. It's a busy day, and well, let's get at it. Let's kind of talk about, what do you want to talk about, Martha?
Well, I just wanted to start off today by giving a big shout out to one of our funders, the Southern California Edison, and really the efforts that we're trying to help promote with them. As we've seen with inclement weather again this past week, we had a tornado, which we don't really hear that word used too often in the state of California, but we unfortunately saw there was a tornado that ripped through here Los Angeles area, Pico Rivera area at 3:15 in the morning. I saw a news clip the other day about how scary that was for folks that had to be woken up to trees falling down either on their houses or in the streets, due to 90-mile-an-hour winds. And the goal of Southern California Edison, we also saw a little bit with the recent fires, and, in particular the fire in Altadena, about the struggle with communication to get the word out to folks that, these, again, not tornadoes, but in this case, fires,
just fires,
earthquakes, as we see whether you're on one end of the spectrum of what's going on with the environment or not. Unfortunately, we have to really start, just being more knowledgeable about what that entails. And so the resources that Southern California Edison provides and the partnerships, again, with the nonprofit organizations like the PVA and others that are working in partnership with them to help get the important word out, again, about the earthquakes, the wildfires, and the power outages then that resume as a result of. And there's a couple of resources we'll talk about a little bit. I don't know if Charles will get into that now or kind of wait until after the break, but I wanted to talk in particular about some of the resources and programs that Southern California is offering their members, and in particular, members that live in the high fire, what's called the high fire areas in the state, so in the more rural areas of the state, and in particular, to pay attention to our elderly, those with limited communication. I know computer literacy is something you got to work on, for myself included. So we're here to help try to make that communication line a little bit more available for those particular members. And again, you don't necessarily have to be a veteran, but if you, again, are an elderly person that lives in a rural area that needs a little bit more help with communicating that important information, I want to talk a little bit about that today and kind of what resources are available to those communities and the community at large that Southern California Edison is offering.
Well, that's great. I know like some areas Edison doesn't provide electricity for, and so I know it would be the areas that some of those I believe may not even been in the burnt area, because Edison is kind of all over the place. They're everywhere. Mm-hmm. I know there are certain places that DWP, it's like in LA, so they have certain little areas and things like that. But mm-hmm. Again, it's good this is information that people should know as opposed to not knowing, because especially you living in the mountains and all of that, there's heavily wooded rural areas. If you're living out in the desert and you're in the middle of nowhere, well, okay, you're not as vulnerable to your place burning down, but everyone should be have an evacuation plan or a plan B, just kind
sure.
of,
emergency preparedness kit.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we could talk about that now, and then we'll you kind of reiterate it. We'll go back and review it at the end. So, I mean, these things are important. I know someone whose their house burned down. They were part of living over in Eden Canyon. And then someone whose house didn't burn down, however, they have to still wait. So all the toxins and all the, the things that were being used to put these fires out, their place has to be cleaned. A good friend of mine had her son is disabled, and I was like, I was wondering why I haven't heard. We talked and we text, but we hadn't talked. And so we finally found out that their house didn't burn down, but they can't go in until they clean it, because it's, and I get that. It makes a hardship for you whether your house burned down or not. And so these things are very, very important, and we want to make sure that people know that Southern California Edison is out there to help us and just try to, do things, because, I mean, they get a lot of negative publicity, which which is not always justified, so I know they're doing by good with us. They give us a lot of swag to give to our members and the community at large. We're trying to do our part. So, yeah. So you can kind of give us or give our listeners, KCAA listeners, some of the information that we are that we're passing down.
Right, and it's you're right. It is good to know whether or not, because maybe you don't know. I know we're learning in terms of our constituents and our members, if you live in a high fire area, right? I know we weren't expecting to see with this last fire, right? Fire ripped through the Palisades and Altadena, which were not in what's categorized as a quote-unquote high fire threat area or high fire threat district. So those issues can be, for anyone. And as you mentioned, thank you for mentioning that. Recently, we are starting to get donations for our members, and again, these are free items, much more important than swag, right? We initially kind of labeled them as swag items
Yes.
until we saw what they looked like last week. I mean, these were very, very well put together. We should have received them. If we didn't get them yesterday in the mailroom, they will be arriving early next week. But some emergency backpacks, with emergency kits, and there were a couple of 2-3 different flashlights, but some lanterns that you can use to kind of help if the power goes out. And so there's really important items that you can ask the power company for to send you or to get for free from them to help in the event of a power outage. So kind of looking at their map quickly, it looks like there's a strip of what's categorized as the high fire threat area in between. And it's interesting that it is sort of like a gap in the middle of the state. So this would be west of the San Joaquin Valley. So San Jose area is categorized as a high fire zone area. Santa Cruz, kind of in the Santa Cruz Mountains, the San Leandro Mountains. And we're also kind of looking down south towards the Santa Lucia Range, and the San Luis Obispo area is also categorized as a high fire zone, along with the Irish Hills and the Sierra Madre Island Mountains also kind of constitute a high fire zone area all the way down south to the San Ynez Mountains, Santa Barbara, Ventura, Santa Maria, the Arroyo Grande. So it kind of looks like kind of in and around some of the mountain ranges there. Now this would be sort of close to the ocean area. And then again, kind of there's a break in the middle of the state, and then the area jumps east up into the kind of the right by the Sierra National Forest. There's another area that's categorized as a high fire zone, Thornberry Mountain area. And then we've got kind of a smaller area here near Bridgeport and the Streeter Mountain area. So those are some of the areas that have been deemed as the high fire zones. A little bit north, we've got, again, the Sierra Nevada Mountains. There's an area there, Bear Mountain, and the State Mountain area. El Dorado Hills is also in there.
Yes.
And the reason why we're pointing those out is because if you are located in those areas, you qualify for different programs, different free items like batteries, backup batteries, and backup generators. And so that's the really important information that we want folks to know, because according to the Southern California Edison, you qualify for those rebates on your bills, and then more importantly, these free, very, very important generators and backup battery kits. Again, so if you throw in that you're elderly, that you're a veteran, that you live in the high fire zone, it's qualification points, if you will, to get you these free generators and free backup battery kits. So we wanted to just make that kind of the main point of the correlation between the high fire threat areas and some of the free equipment that the Southern California Edison provides for those that are in these areas.
And if you don't live in a high fire, maybe you know someone who does.
Sure.
This is information that you can pass on to your family, your friends, or your colleagues, whoever, because usually when some kind of a tragedy, a natural disaster, or whatever happens, you may not know someone directly, but somebody that you know may know someone, and it happens a lot more often than we would could ever imagine. That so this is information that we want to pass to our listeners,
Sure.
and then our listeners can take notes and whatever. If they want to get more information, they can always contact Southern California Edison. And or what phone numbers are there, or how would they
Okay.
go about that? Since we're talking
Sure.
Edison.
So we've got, if you're able to get on the website, it is www.sce.org. And then if SCE.com, I'm sorry, we are
Yes.
PVACC.org. www.sce.com, so short for Southern California Edison. Otherwise, we can do a phone number for them. Let me get that for you.
And while she's getting that number, you could also call us and send us. We have a phone number. You can call us at the at our office. Is what's that?
562-826-5713. We're also going to be putting this on our website, so any of these fact sheets, information sheets, and then also the link to the SCE website will be available on our website as well. But their customer service number is 1-800-655-4555. Again, 1-800-655-4555. And when you're calling to ask them about the community information and equipment that's available for folks that live in the high fire zone areas. Again, if you're elderly, in a rural part of the state, a veteran, those are also key pieces of information you want to share with them, because this is trying to help identify those in the elderly community that have medical equipment that needs to still, have power. And again, that's why they're offering these generators and battery packs. So if you've got equipment, medical equipment that needs to, have electricity, that's also something you want to share with them when you call.
Yep. All right. That's a lot of information. So what we're going to do now, we are going to take a break on the Cool Veterans Show, and we'll be back on the other side and get back with you with some new stuff.
Shoodle-dip, beat-it, shoodle-dip-bop-bing-bong. Shoodle-dip, beat-it, shoodle-dip-bop-bing-bong. Shoodle-dip, beat-it, shoodle-dip-bop-bing-bong. Shoodle-dip, beat-it, oh-de-oh-de-oh-bong. Contradiction is the name of the game. Well, contradiction ought to be a shame. Contradiction all of the time. Contradiction blowing my mind. Say it again. Contradiction is the name of the game. Well, now contradiction ought to be a shame. Good God, contradiction everywhere you turn. Well, now contradiction, will you ever learn? Listen. Say you want peace, but you start a war. And you want to be free, but you pass a new law. Everybody's equal, but you segregator. Every man is your brother, but your neighbor you hate. Let's do it again now. Contradiction is the name of the game. Well, now contradiction, you ought to be ashamed. Contradiction all of the time. Good God, contradiction blowing my mind.
You wanna be healthy, but you eat junk food. Pop pills, drink alcohol, and break all the rules. You wanna be wise and develop your mind, but you're living off gossip all of the time.
Hey, it's contradiction is the name of the game. Contradiction, you ought to be ashamed. Well, now contradiction everywhere you turn. Good God, of trying to be something that you ain't. Everybody ought to show their own true colors instead of trying to be a saint, because you ain't should be.
All right, we're back. We're back. I'm Charles Whitehead, along with Martha Varela. We are the coast. Well, I guess we are the coast. The co-host of the Cool Veteran Show. We're here at KCAA Radio. We are 1050 AM and 106.5 FM. You can always give us a call at our office at the PVA, Paralyzed Vets. So this segment, we want to focus on kind of some of the things that we're doing as far as events, and some of the things that we just did recently. I know we went to the Abilities Expo last weekend, and that was that's always a big show at the Los Angeles Convention Center. And I mean, it you know, for one, it's a lot of it's like having the wheelchair vendors, anything to do with disability, walkers, canes, cars, products. There was a lot going on. Martha, I know you didn't go, but you know, we were tasked to come back with a lot of information, and I know we're still putting it all together, but the Abilities Expo has always been a big show. I remember when it started in, my first one was in '88. I got hurt in '87. And in '88, it may have been, you know, it was later, '88. It was at the convention center, and they had it there for a few years, and then I know they moved to Long Beach for a couple of years or so. Then they moved to Anaheim, and they were out there for a few years, and then they came back to LA, and that's where they're at. And I think next year they're going back to Long Beach. So let's talk about our upcoming events, and we'll touch on the Abilities Expo. Martha, I know Martha is our program director, and she's you know, we do a lot of events, and we have a very supportive board of directors that help support our needs, and we also have volunteers that come through with like, you know, like all of the time. So, and then I think yes, Edison has volunteers as well, right, Martha?
Yes, we actually were very, very fortunate to have a group of volunteers from Southern California Edison volunteer this year at our Women's Veterans event, our yearly event that we offer in November of each year. October of each year, our Weaver, Women Veteran Empowerment Retreat that is offered for women veterans that get selected from across the country. 40 women are invited to attend this yearly empowerment retreat that's sponsored again with gracious sponsorship from the TVA women's group, then also the TriNet folks there are also big sponsors. And the Women Veteran Empowerment Retreat really is just a way for us to stay connected to our women veterans and focus on their needs and what they you know, all need to live successful, independent lives across the country. And so we just wrapped up our 6th annual Veterans Empowerment Retreat, which we call Weaver, that we actually hosted here in Southern California in Long Beach. And thank you again to the gracious volunteers from Southern California Edison that came to help set up our women's boutique. We had a generous donation for women veterans, so we were asked to donate down to them. So we set up a boutique and provided shoes, handbags, some very nice clothing and jackets, jewelry, and some small accessories for women. And that was a way for us to kind of help not just co-host the event with our PVA National, but also to help, you know, promote the women veterans in the local Southern California Edison. So again, big thank you to the veterans, the volunteers from Southern California Edison that came. Again, First Nation group that's also a very big sponsor of the PVA and a big sponsor of the adaptive sporting events, and then also the women events of PVA. So shout out to the First Nation group. And then also the Siebert Williams Shank Foundation that sponsored the Weaver event this past October. And again, Tri-West Healthcare Alliance that also generously sponsored the Women Veterans Retreat this year. And again, the theme was 1940s, and it talked a little bit more about, again, the physical and emotional well-being of our veterans. So they were able to come and participate in some empowerment sessions, but then also some important yoga, meditation, and a beautiful boutique that they enjoyed, as well as a paint and sip activity that the local California chapter was able to sponsor.
Yes, we had, how many women do you think were there?
Well, they have 40 slots that they set aside for the Weaver event. So I would say between 30 and 40 women from across the country were able to participate.
Yes, and it's important, you know, because what do we have, a membership of total of like 600 and...
About 615, and of that, we've got close to 50 that are women vets.
Yeah, so we try to do a little bit more activities for the women, you know, because there aren't that many. And so I know we have a pilot study coming up. You want to give a little,
Sure.
talk about that a little bit? That's coming up?
Yes, absolutely. And that, you know, again, as we are tasked to do by our national office, and, you know, again, being a women veteran myself, I take great pride in extending that mission down to the local efforts. And again, in a membership of over 600 of male veterans, which, you know, it just happens to be the case of, you know, who's in the military. There's no changing that. Just charges me on a more personal level to, again, make sure that we amplify the needs and well-being of our women vets. So we've got about 48 women veterans, 49 last I checked. We also got a generous donation this last week from the Girl Scouts in New York City. So, and that was kind of a dual effort from the Girl Scouts and the American Legion. And they also sent some handwritten notes, some ornaments, and some treats for our women vets. And again, shout out to the Girl Scout Heart of the Hudson in New York. Again, so these, you know, partnerships and collaborations don't necessarily have to be all in Southern California, Edison. And so when we work collaboratively together, you know, they can come from all over. And again, to the American Legion in New York that partnered with the Girl Scouts to help, again, send some heartfelt, homemade thank you cards, thank you for your service cards, flag ornaments for the women vets, and some snacks that we're starting to distribute down to our women veterans. But it's, you know, again, a beautiful thing that we're doing in collaboration with the Barbara Giordano Foundation, also in New York, and the Horse Project that is here in Santa Barbara. And what we're trying to do is provide, and we're careful not to call it therapy, but for those just from a basic understanding point, the horses are used therapeutically to provide emotional support for those who have PTSD. And we know that many of our veterans and many of our women veterans, when they come back from their time in service, have issues around stress and PTSD in particular from their time in service. And just, again, many struggle with the transition out of the military and back into regular civilian life, and that also causes stress. So we're partnering, again, with the Barbara Giordano Foundation out of New York and the Horse Project out of Santa Barbara, California, and we're going to pilot a project for women vets that focuses on how to utilize the horses, and it's a wellness project that we're putting together for 3 to 5 women, this pilot project, and again, in hopes of creating something ongoing. So we're looking at getting this project off the ground this next weekend, the 20th of March through the 23rd of March, again in Santa Barbara. if anyone is interested in learning more about the project, if you know somebody who would be interested in sponsoring a woman veteran, we're looking for donations and sponsorships. It could be a business, it could be a private donor, because we want to create something that is meaningful, something that's impactful, and something that we can continue to do for our women vets after. So this is going to be an exciting, again, as Charles mentioned, it's a pilot. So we're going to bring 4 PVA women in wheelchairs. And again, this is the issue that, or not an issue, but the part of this project that is of interest to the horses, for the horses and the horse project in particular, because women in wheelchairs oftentimes aren't included. And so, you know, veterans come in all shapes and sizes. You know, their wounds are invisible and visible. You know, some have, you know, disabilities that you can see and others do not. And so we want to make sure that we incorporate, you know, a variety of all those veterans, and in particular these women veterans that are going to be coming next weekend up to Santa Barbara to enjoy a weekend of health and wellness, and just really excited. So if you're interested in learning more about this project, if you're a women veteran out there that is interested, you know, again, we did get some interest, which was amazing, from women that were out of the state. So that, in terms of creating a pilot for those of you who have, you know, have ever been involved in that exciting pilot project program, you know, development side of the fence, you know, this is just proof that there's a need out there and that there's interest out there for women, not just in California, but women veterans outside of the state. So that's exciting for us as we're looking to plan and really create, again, an impactful, meaningful program for our women vets, that there's more women vets out there that are going to need support and sponsorship to help get them to a program like the one we'll be recreating. So you can email me at Martha, M-A-R-T-H-A, at pvacc.org, or at the main PVA email, which is info@pvacc.org. So either of those 2 emails work for you if you want to send in an email to let us know. Again, you may not know or you may not be able to, but maybe you know someone else that might be able to donate anything and everything. Everything or anything you would be willing to donate, we would really appreciate.
Yes, absolutely. You know, so we're going to go to a break here, and we're going to play the actual song. That's the name of this is our background music. Cool, written by yours truly.
I look into my closet. What will I wear today? I think I'll wear some black pants and a shirt that's black and gray. I put on a pair of shoes, grab a hat, and I'm on my way. I think I'll wear the black hat, 'cause it's a black hat kind of day. Now I'm feeling cool as I'm heading out the door. And I'm feeling pretty good. Now I'm styling even more. Like I'm a star in Hollywood. Later in the morning, once I finally hit the road, I was driving on the freeway, but the traffic was moving slow. The guy in the car right next to me had road rage pretty bad. He's blowing his horn at everyone, talking trash and he's really mad. He's lost his cool. That is not the way to be. Don't lose your cool. You can't be losing your control. Don't lose your cool. You never see that come from me. Don't lose your cool. 'Cause that is not the way I roll. You don't need fancy clothes. The clothes you have will do. 'Cause it's not about the threads, it's the character in you. Sometimes you will be right, other times you will be wrong. You don't need to fuss and fight. If you're really cool, you learn to get along. You may push a chair, or maybe walking is your thing. You may go to work, or you may go to school. It doesn't really matter. Just remember to keep your cool, no matter what you do, and just be cool. There's a lot of cool in you. The clothes you have will do. It's the character in you. Sometimes you won't be right. You don't need to fuss and fight. You don't need to have a car. You don't have to be a star. If you need a blessing every day, remember, you can still be cool and brave. Just be cool. Just be cool. Don't lose your cool. Don't lose your cool.
All right, we're back. That was a song I wrote some years ago, and it's basically, it's about your attitude. It's not about the clothes or how much money you have or anything. It's kind of like, hey, keep your cool, because right now, people have lost their cool all over across the world. Things are going crazy, so we're trying to rein it back in a little bit. Anyway, so we talked to you about these events and things that we had, some of the women events. We have more things coming up. And so what we will do now is talk about just some of the upcoming events like ours. And some of the programs that we're doing that we've been tasked to do by our PVA National Office, like the Winter Sports Clinic, the Golden Age Games, and Martha, you have a little bit of information on that stuff?
Well, we don't have any, unfortunately, we haven't planned any events for the Southern California area, or California area. So that calendar comes out once a year. I know that what we are looking to do in the near future is provide some social recreational activities for our members in the area, because that was something when COVID started we didn't do at all. Obviously, we had to kind of close down. But we just recently had a pickleball tournament in October, and we were very excited to get such a good turnout of about 20 volunteers and members. We had members from the San Diego area that drove up. We even had one female veteran fly in from Florida that came to participate in the pickleball tournament. Now, we kind of had to wait for the construction to finish on our facility here at the Long Beach Hospital, which is now complete. And we're looking to provide a segue into one of the events that we do have coming up, Charles, our Adaptive Sports Expo that we have planned on the campus of the Long Beach VA Hospital in May. And if you wanted to mark your calendars, we have set a date for Friday, May 16th, and that will be the second year now we've been able to provide, again, post-COVID, because things sort of shut down for us completely when COVID hit, being that we were physically inside the Long Beach VA Hospital. There wasn't any programming that was allowed to happen. But we're very excited, again, to now this will be the second year of our Adaptive Sports Expo. And this year will be a bigger year where we will have more community partners, more of our community vendors, and folks in the nonprofit world that, like the American Heart Association, the Niagara Cares Foundation, that will be invited to come and spread more information in Southern California Edison. I can't forget those three groups, our larger community sponsors that will be invited to come and help, just again, provide some really good information to the community about health and wellness, a really good, community information on just in general for all those. And again, because the construction is complete, We will have more of the sports and rec, so the pickleball, the basketball, and other, the rock climbing wall, that folks can come and participate in. And it will be adaptive, so whether you have a disability or not, you're welcome to come and participate while you're there, pick up some good information about, again, community resources and information that are offered and provided by our community partners, and just to really get a good feel for what we do at the PVA and also at the VA hospital. So we're really excited. Again, that date is Friday, May 16th. We will be meeting about it on Monday to just kind of continue to push to make sure that we make this an even bigger and better event this year. Both Charles and I sit on that planning committee with the VA staff to help, again, make sure that, it's also a chance you could come out and check out Charles's band as well, per se, that will be there again this year. Charles wears multiple hats, if you guys don't know this by now, but he will also be DJing the event as well as playing music with his band at the event, on top of being the president of the PVA Board of Directors, who will be there to answer questions for folks that have questions that need to be answered. We're really excited and looking forward to that upcoming event just in a few short months. May will be here. As we see March is flying by, but that's something you can put on your calendar if you're interested in coming out to check us out, check out the VA hospital in Long Beach and some of our key community partners and community funders, as well as some new folks that we'll be bringing to the table. We're excited to have the LA Olympics come this year.
28.
So we're really excited about that event.
And since we're talking about the VA, I know there's a lot of uncertainty about some of the people who work at the VA hospitals across the board, all the way from coast to coast. I just say, hey, let's all keep the country in prayer for one, and just that we have a lot of people because people just don't know, and we want to make sure that we pray and keep our country prayed up, keep our politicians to the point where they know that they need to take care of the people and start listening to the people, and make sure that we are not alienating or they are not alienating us. And we want people to, because everything is good when people are happy, working, and things like this. And when you throw a curveball at somebody, it's not fun. It's not fun. It's it's so. This is for me going personally. I'm like, we need to pray hard and keep praying, and I pray for all of this stuff to soon. Something will be righting the ship. Anyways, I had to throw that in there because it's, you get to know these people that work at these facilities and things, and it's just like, there's a lot of unease right now, and so I had to throw that in there. We're gonna go to a quick break. We're gonna play Downtown Long Beach, and then what we're going to do is come back and we'll finish off talking about a little music, and then we'll be done for the day. So. Downtown Long Beach, this is per se, the band, and Charles Whitehead, Downtown Long Beach. Thank you.
There's a cool place just south of LA where the people go to work and the people go to play. So many sights for you to see. You can take the family through, like the Queen Mary ship and the aquarium too. Once a year you'll see cars racing in the streets. People come from everywhere, checking out the Grand Prix. Go to see the show, or find a place to be, the place you want to go, where the people want to be is in downtown Long Beach, Southern California, USA. Downtown in Long Beach, the city by the waterfront, where they go and work and play. Downtown in Long Beach, higher in the air, you can see the skyline. You can even see the port that's busy all the time. From the shoreline, you can take off on a cruise or hang out at the beach and just enjoy the view. People seem to be out shopping everywhere. At the farmer's market, the
All right, we're back. Yeah, it was Downtown Long Beach. That was a song that was released in 2015, I believe. And, it basically says what it is. Downtown Long Beach, get your stuff. And I created a spinoff to Downtown Long Beach for our chapter. It's called Long Beach PVA. So, so Martha, before I forget, I was thinking, let's tell our listeners about our one of our members who the documentary is out now about Angela Matson.
So we will be helping promote the showing of Row of Life, a special screening we're providing. That is the documentary on one of our very dear members, Angela Matson, who most of you know was a very powerful female veteran, member of the PVA California chapter, but also I think she won the hearts of others across the state and the country for her brave efforts as she tried to row from California to Hawaii in a first of its kind really it kind of tears me up because I just imagine just all of that. But we're here to help promote her movie called Row of Life, which we will be showing a special screening of. And Charles, I'll let you talk a little bit more about Angela because you knew her personally and have, played wheelchair basketball with her in the past and kind of know a little bit more about her on a personal level. But I'll just talk a little bit about the special screening that we're showing this Wednesday to help promote the movie Row of Life. This Wednesday, the 19th of March from 1 to 3 in room UB 200 at the VA, Long Beach VA Hospital. And we're trying to just help, again, be supportive. This is a big movie that will be shown not just at the VA hospital, but it's been included in the film festivals. So you will be seeing and hearing more of the movie premiere. But we will be showing that on Wednesday in hopes that our inpatient PVA members that are in the hospital that maybe wouldn't normally get a chance to get out there to, see the movie will be able to do so. And so we will be also inviting others that live in close proximity to the Long Beach VA Hospital to come out on Wednesday after our board of directors meeting to check out the film. But Charles, I'll let you talk a little bit more about Angela and how special she was and who she was to not just the PVA community, but the disabled community at large, and just how much she meant to so many more people than just us here at the PVA.
Thank you, Martha. Yeah, Angela, I knew her personally. We used to play basketball at Casa Colina. When Casa Colina, this is 20 years ago at least. But I knew her then, and Angela was funny. She's a very strong woman, like you said, and I'm talking about strong as in powerful strong, muscle strong. She did a lot of rowing, and I believe she started the adaptive rowing program in Long Beach. Now, if I'm wrong and I'm saying it exactly wrong, if I'm saying it not exactly right, I know she was a big part of it, no matter what. And she was she's a Paralympian. She's been to multiple Olympics and won medals, and I don't have the exact count in front of me or anything like that, but Angela was a strong woman, and the bottom line is, she I was following her when she took off on that row to from California to Hawaii. It was going to take her like 4 months to get there. And somewhere about 2 months in, she was pretty close to halfway, or either just barely halfway there, or a little bit over. Tragically, she drowned. And I give her props. The fact that she did it. And the filmmaker they were doing a documentary. Her name is Soraya Simi, and she was doing a documentary. And so I was following Angela, and one morning, there would be like local TV news stations said, "Oh, let's find out what Angela's doing." And when she took off at first, the wind pushed her so far south. She had, I think it took her like 30 miles or 35 miles out of her way. And so then she kind of regained herself, and she went, if I'm not correct, I'm giving you bits and pieces. She went on the south side of Catalina Island to cut down on some of the wind, and she made her way, but she was doing great. She had satellite, she had what do you call the solar panels on her boat. She had a water desalinator. She had MREs for, if you're not military, as meal ready to eat, things that the military has, these little kits, because she didn't want to have too much weight, because she would have to be the one rowing it. And she was, again, she was talking with her wife, Deb, and then they lost, she said that she was going to get in the water, and she did, and fixed one of her anchors, and then communication dropped, and there was Soraya got in touch with the Coast Guard, and they went out and they did a flyover, and they saw her boat in the water, and so there was a container ship going from, I think it was like leaving Oakland, headed to Tahiti or somewhere. And the Coast Guard asked them to go by where she was, and they found her, and she was in the water, anchored to her boat, but and they took her body with them to Tahiti, and when they came back, they stopped in Long Beach. I don't know if that was their planned stop or whatever, but they dropped her off, and I was shocked when I woke up and I saw that Angela Matson dies. It really hit me here, because I knew her personally, and I believed in what she did. She was doing something she loved to do, and it just didn't work out. But I wrote a song called Challenge Accepted, and so I'm always happy to have friends who are internationally known, well known, and just heroes. So I give her props. So I want to talk about that, just to make sure that people know that the documentary is called Row of Life, and it's the name of her boat, Row of Life, the Angela Matson story. So that it's coming up, and it's important. Now I know we have 2 minutes left or so, so we want to wind down and kind of go back. Let me talk about my buddies over at U2 Mobility real quick. I have this thing called a Scout. It's like a motorcycle connector that you connect to your wheelchair. And this Scout has been big for me. I got to give it up to John, his wife Mary, and then and Mike. U2 Mobility. I would say, if you need anything, wheelchairs or whatever, give them a call at the office. 951-898-0888. That's again 951-898-0888. Or you can Google them. They're U2, U as in the letter 2, U and the letter the letter U, the number 2, Mobility. U2 Mobility. So we have about an hour, about 1 minute left. Let's just give a review, or you talk about Edison. Thank you, Martha. Is there anything you want to add to this?
No, just a thank you to, again, our generous sponsor, the Southern California Edison, the Niagara Cares Foundation, and last but not least, the American Heart Association, who you guys will be hearing more of, and we're hoping to bring them onto the radio show soon so that they can talk about some of the wonderful community efforts that they are providing to members in the state of California. So thank you to them.
All right, and we want to also give it up to Joe, our engineer here at KCAA Radio. Joe is, I got done for props. We're at KCAA 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and just remember, KCAA is the station that leaves no listener behind, and we are the Cool Veteran Show. We'll see you next time.
KCAA is your CNBC News affiliate. We're the station that gets down to business.
KCAA,
where life's much better. So download the app in your smart device today. Listen everywhere and anywhere. Whether you're in Southern California, Texas, or sailing on the Gulf of Mexico, life's a breeze with KCAA. Download the app in your smart device today.
sailing out of yesterday in the Gulf of Mexico.
KCAA.
More than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio each month for news, weather, and emergency information. A new bill in Congress would make sure AM radio remains in cars, because when cell and internet services are down, this free service could be your only lifeline. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress to support the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
The Village Mud wants to remind pet owners of the importance of spaying and neutering. Shelters overflow with unwanted pets. Spaying and neutering helps prevent this and has many health benefits too. That message courtesy of the Village Mud at 6665 East Foothill Boulevard in Claremont. For self-serve pet wash tubs and high-end food and treats for dogs and cats, featuring natural and raw. Call the Village Mud 909-624-3020 and like them on Facebook.
If you haven't been listening to TV Confidential, this is who you're missing.
Eric Braden, Anson Williams, Burt Ward,
Lindsay Wagner, Loretta Swit, Michelle Nichols,
Shirley Jones,
Louise Sorrell,
Ben Eisner. A lovely and chatting interview.
All the
Conversation, it wasn't an interview.
Well, thank you. That's what I try to do. I try to make this a conversation.
You made it.
That's TV Confidential.
Mondays, 2 p.m. right here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
One of the best ways to build a healthier local economy is by shopping locally. Teamster Advantage is a shop local program started by Teamster Local 1932 that has brought together hundreds of locally owned businesses to provide discounts for residents who make shopping locally their priority. Everything from restaurants like Corky's to fun times at SB Raceway and much, much more. If you're not currently a Teamster and you want access to these local business discounts, contact Jennifer at 909-889-8377, extension 224. Give her a call. That number again is 909-889-8377, extension 224.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Garten. Severe weather is threatening tens of millions across the South and Midwest this weekend. Meteorologist Michelle Grossman says the region has been dealing with tornadoes, flash flooding, and severe storms for days.
We have flash flood emergencies. That is life-threatening, that is catastrophic, and it comes quickly. We're going to see river flooding, too, over the next several days. That takes a little bit longer to get going.
More than a foot of rain has fallen on parts of Kentucky, and the region is bracing for more. Forecasters expect heavy flooding along the Mississippi River over the next few days. Anti-Trump protests are drawing thousands across the country today. Reverend William Barber II in Washington, D.C.
When Trump and Musk and their minions are signing unconstitutional executive orders, when they are doing this, we must say, take your hands off of our democracy.
Lisa Carton, NBC News Radio.
NBC News on KCAA Loma Linda, sponsored by Teamsters Local 1932, protecting the future of working families. Teamsters1932.org.
There is, one hopes, a little call of the wild left in all of us, even those of us who live in concrete boxes stacked 40 stories high in the city sky. That call leads us to ask, where can we get a taste of wild meat?
Welcome to the award-winning Food Chain Radio Show with your host, Michael Olson. And now get ready for 1 hour of What's Eating What Radio.
Hello out there. You are tuned into the 1389th edition of the Food Chain Radio Show. Hey, perhaps you're among your friends way down there in Cairns, who are tuned in as we stream along in the food chain page at metrofarm.com. Well, whoever you are and wherever you are, welcome aboard. I am Michael Olson, your host for this hour of What's Eating What. Folks, as a baby boomer growing up in Montana's Big Sky, I ate a lot of wild meat. Money was tight just after World War II, and the foods that came wrapped in plastic at the grocery store were too expensive for a family of 7. Fortunately, one grandfather had a farm, so we ate a lot of farm fresh food. The other grandfather had firearms, and game was aplenty. So we hunted antelope and deer, elk, pheasant, and sage hens, and we fished for the beautiful rainbow trout in the tumbling white waters of mountain streams. We ate them all. I now live in the San Francisco Bay Area Metroplex, where the call of the wild food has largely been supplanted by the taste technologies of industrial foods. After all, very few of us city people can afford to hunt and fish, so we eat what comes wrapped in plastic from grocers. Still, one hopes, there is a little call of the wild left in all of us. That call leads us to ask, where can we get a taste of wild meat? Well, who better to ask than Daniel Logner, who is the owner and the butcher of Wild Stag Provisions in Santa Cruz, California. Daniel, welcome to the food chain.
It's good to be here.
Good to have you aboard. And let's see, Wild Stag, what is wild meat?
Wild meat?
Yeah, what is in wild meat that is not in cultured meat? There you go.
I like this term wild meat because it gives contradiction to domestic meat, which we use all the time. And while it's not technically wild, because there's some USDA regulations that...
Not anything wild anymore, is there, when it gets right down to it?
Yeah, indeed. I like the word wild because it gives a certain image around the type of meat that I source. And it's really focused around the genetic ancestry of the animals that I like to use for my butchering, which are bison, venison, elk, wild boar. And then depending on the farm and the season, I'll also incorporate rabbit or duck.
Mm-hmm. Well, I found you at the farmer's market. And if there's anything different than wild meat, it's farmer's market meat, more farmer's market food, which is cultured, but local. So I was surprised, but then I thought, well, what better place to find wild meat than in a farmer's market? But technically, as a certified farmer's market, you're really not the farmer who grew the food, right?
Yeah, that's right. I don't own the land or the ranch where my meat comes from.
Okay, good. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself and how on earth you became a provider of wild meat. I mean, you have quite an academic background, and it would seem like that's the last place you would find a provider of wild meat these days.
Yeah, it's been a long journey, and I have a lot of colorful background, shall we say. But indeed, it started with a love for animals my entire life, and that led me into my academia, which was focused around wildlife and biology. And simultaneously, I built a love for the outdoors, mainly around the outdoor sports, mountaineering, skiing, rock climbing, etc., and just being in the wilderness. To me, being in the wilderness in any modality was deeply fulfilling. And that led me into my later adulthood, my passion for biology and my passion for the outdoor pursuits. And I also felt a lot of connection around trying to be healthy. And that then led me to sourcing my own meat. And the type of hunting that I do requires a lot of skills around being in the wilderness. And it was just natural for me to take my wilderness skills, my biological academic background, and pick up hunting with a very wholesome, mindful way in the backcountry, typically in the high mountains. And then, so that's where my hunting background started. And some years ago, I had a beautiful opportunity to start a new business. And I thought to myself, what would I love to be able to do for myself and for my community? And butchering is, to me, something that I love to do, but also hard work. And I didn't want to take something that I deeply love in the form of a hobby, such as hunting, and turn that into work and monetize that. But I could wrap my head around taking the act of butchering and building some type of business model out of that. And because I know hunting and I know butchering and I love cooking, that was the origin of the seed that's now Wild Stag.
And now it's Wild Stag Provisions.
Provisions, yes.
Very good. Wow, that's quite a story for we city people. Do you see what you're doing with Wild Stag Provisions as kind of challenging city folks with the wild?
I love this question, because this question, it makes us think about the bigger picture of food in our world, and maybe the insulation that we have in cities. There's just such a strong capitalistically driven and individualized structure in society right now that doesn't promote the wholesome consideration of where food comes from and what we should be eating, and also the value of what kind of food actually has. Where if you look back, having a chicken for dinner maybe happened once a week for privileged people, and now we have that 5-6 days a week, and it's not considered frequently where that comes from and what kind of impact that has. And so I like to take the platform of Wild Stag Provisions and shed a little bit of light on the awareness of the value of the life of the animals, the value and the importance of where food comes from, and actually how high of an impact that has. So yes, I like to take, as you call it, city people, and maybe expand their minds a little bit on what they have available and how difficult it actually is to make that available to them all the time.
Well, we city people do have some interesting habits and proclivities, and one of the proclivities we see in a lot of young people is to avoid eating meat and to become vegan or vegetarian or whatnot. And when I ask why, it's because mostly it's because they don't want to kill an animal, period. And I think that by not wanting to kill and eat animals, they're almost putting society in a place where we will not be able to have animals.
Yeah. I would challenge anybody to think a little bit more into the nuance of how things work. And as much as it's nice to consider that vegetarian or veganism is insulated